Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us for the Charter School panel on preparing for a career that makes a difference. So to introduce myself, my name is Jacob Sanita, and I'm a senior in government and international politics in the Charter School. And I'm also one of this year's Charter School student liaisons. And so my kind of job as a student liaison is just to help both prospective students and current students within the Charter School become more familiar with the different programs and just everything that Charter School has to offer, and just sort of help them along the way here. And there are two other student liaisons, as you can see there. So again, welcome to all of you current students, as well as those interested in learning more about the Charter School of Policy and Government. And so in the next 30 minutes or so, you'll hear from several members of the Charter School community. And then at the end of the panel, we will provide some information about the application process. And then there'll also be a Q&A period with our panelists. We look forward to hearing from you. If you have any questions throughout the session, you can submit them in the bottom of your screen using the Q&A button. And we might respond to some as we go, and we will certainly try to get to them by the end if we don't respond to them as soon as you ask. And we would love to hear more from you. So if you were here to learn about Mason the Charter School, please chat and let us know where you're joining from, what you're interested in. And if you're a current Mason student, what sort of major are you right now, and what kind of job or career are you thinking about? And without further ado, let me introduce who you will be meeting with today. We have Shannon Williams, who is the Director of Student Services at the Charter School. You have Ann Ludwig, who is the Assistant Dean for Undergraduate Academic Affairs and is also the Internship Instructor. We have Matt Myers, who is the Assistant Director of Industry Advising at Career Services. And then we have two graduates of the Charter School joining us today, Iyasu and Amanda. Iyasu is a graduate of Charter School's BS in Public Administration, and who is currently a Human Resources Director at America's Health Insurance Plans. And then Amanda is a graduate of the Charter School's BA program, who went on to do her master's in public policy at Harvard's Kennedy School, and who is currently a consultant. And then now let me welcome Shannon Williams.
Thanks, Jacob. Hi, everybody, and welcome. As Jacob said, I am Shannon, and I work in student services. And just so you know where I am, I'm currently located on colonized Manahoac Traditional Territory, currently Northern Virginia, Oakton, right near the Fairfax campus of George Mason. So all of us at the Charter School have been working harder than ever to provide high-quality degree programs in fields of study that are more relevant than ever. The Charter School offers 2 undergraduate degrees, and before we get the panel started, I just want to give you a quick overview of the degrees that we have so that you know what's in store for you. We do have the Bachelor of Arts in Government and International Politics. That's really our traditional political science and international relations program. This has over 800 students in it, and the professional interests of those students can include law, diplomacy, foreign service, federal government service, international security, political campaigns, working on Capitol Hill, and more. We also have a Bachelor of Science in Public Administration, which prepares students to work in public service, which is really the business of Washington. So this program has over 100 dedicated students in it, and this is great for those who are interested in nonprofits, human resources, advocacy, public policy, federal government service, and state and local government. So the BS focuses more on the logistics of government on all levels, and it includes a bit more policy analysis and economics. So you are welcome to ask questions about the programs, but I know many of you are excited to hear more about career services and internships and different kinds of opportunities if you come to the Charter School. So you will at the Charter School have all kinds of avenues for taking your classroom experiences to the next level. And I'm going to provide more information after you hear from the panelists about how you can apply. And as Jacob said, please go ahead and put in the chat who you are, where you're from, if you are a Mason student, what you're studying and interested in. If you are thinking of applying to Mason, what you might be interested in studying or even doing in your career. So put that in the chat, and then throughout the event, you can also put your questions in the Q&A, and we'll either answer them live, but with our panelists will answer them live. They'll either type answers or they might answer them in person. So with that, let me welcome Ann Ludwig, who is the moderator of tonight's panel.
Thank you, Shannon. Thank you all for taking time to join us at the Shar School this evening. I'm looking forward to a lively discussion about the career paths of our esteemed students and graduates, and what career resources are available to guide students along that path. First, I'd like to invite each of our panelists to introduce themselves briefly and give us a quick description of what they are up to right now. I'd like to start with Jacob.
Yeah, so as I've already said, my name is Jacob Sanita, and I'm a senior studying government and international politics. So in addition to the being a HR school liaison, I've done a handful of internships in the past, throughout my college career, and those have really given me the opportunity to have hands-on experience. I definitely want to go into politics and government, so it's given me the opportunity to learn more about that and gain very valuable hands-on experience.
Thank you, Jacob. Next, I'd like to invite Matt to introduce himself.
Sure. Thanks, Ann. My name is Matt Myers. I'm the Assistant Director for Industry Advising within Career Services here at George Mason. And specifically, I work with all of our students who want to go into government, go into law, go into criminal justice. So quite often that does mean that Shar School students who are looking for internships, who are looking for jobs, find their way over to meet with me, and I work with them. And I also work with all of our employers. So whether it's, I'm working with you as a student who is looking for an opportunity, working on your interview skills, or I'm talking to somebody from the State Department, I'm talking to somebody from the FBI, talking to somebody from Fairfax County government to help them create their recruiting strategies to come find you, to give you the opportunities, so that way your next steps after Mason are as fulfilling as you hope that they will be.
Thank you, Matt. Amanda, tell us what you're up to.
Hi, I'm Amanda Paterino. I graduated from the Shar School in 2016 and after school worked at a nonprofit in DC where I actually had interned my senior year. And then in 2018, I went to the Harvard Kennedy School and I just graduated in May with my Master's of Public Policy, and I am now a consultant.
Thank you, Amanda. And finally, Iyasu.
Hi, everyone. I am a Shar graduate in 2018, and I'm an HR coordinator. I appreciate the promotion there, Jacob, not an HR director, but I did a bunch of internships on the Hill and in local city government, and found my way in human resources, which is a very rewarding career. So, yep, that's who I am.
Thank you. All right, now to the questions. I'm going to start with Matt. Matt, when students meet with you for government and related industry advising, what would you say is the top question or reason for reaching out to you in career services?
Okay, so I'm going to give you multiple answers instead of just one. The actual top reason is usually because they want help with their resume. And yes, while we do that, we do so much more than that. And usually that conversation leads to more in-depth questions as it is. So really what I think the end output is of these initial outreaches, because if you're building your resume, you're building it for some reason, right? You're probably not doing it just for fun. It's because they're getting ready to look for an internship or they're getting ready to look for a full-time position. So that is what we do. We have a database that we utilize called Handshake, that if you come to Mason, you'll automatically have an account built into Handshake for you, and you'll be able to see literally tens of thousands of jobs that are posted in there across all different industries, including government, that you'll have access to. Employers constantly coming to Mason looking to be able to hire, whether it's for internship, part-time, full-time, whatever, volunteer opportunities as well. So the opportunities are there, and what I'm doing is helping to connect students to those opportunities and helping them to realize that if you're looking for something related to government, there's so many opportunities that most people don't even realize at first until you start to really dig into it a little bit more. So that's the short version of the answer. I'm happy to answer more questions about that later on.
Thank you. Jacob, you mentioned that you've had a couple of internships as a student. I'm curious to know more about your experience with your internship and the Global Politics Fellows Program. Can you share a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So in the spring 2020 semester, I was I was in the Global Politics Fellows Program, which meant that I was part of a small cohort of students that took classes at Mason's Arlington campus. And so I got that very unique experience, and that was very enriching, and it was a very good experience. And as part of that program, I also had an internship in DC. I specifically interned with a group called Scenic America. They're a nonprofit, and they focus a lot on preservation and some other environmental things. But that sort of was my first real experience getting hands-on experience. I helped to craft legislation that was related to our organization objectives. I got to go to congressional hearings, which was super duper cool for me as a political nerd. I love that. And then I did numerous one-pagers, policy briefs for other sort of things that we had going on in the organization.
Wow, sounds exciting. In the right place at the right time, right? For Iyasu, how did your Mason coursework prepare you for the job search process in general?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first I wanted to mention how Matt mentioned before about Handshake. I actually got both of my internships while pursuing my undergraduate degree at Mason through Handshake. So I know sometimes it can feel like you're submitting your resume into the void, but Handshake seems like it definitely has a lot of good opportunities. But especially my undergraduate degree in public administration, it contains a lot of organizational development, as well as economics and poli-sci, as has been discussed before. And it really just gives you an opportunity to explore different areas of not only government, but also nonprofits around the area that support government or lobby on the Hill and such. And so that really opened my eyes on the different possibilities that a public admin major can have in an organization. And it's such a versatile degree, can be used in, emergency management as well as human resources, as well as, running a government agency. And so I just think the versatility of the degree and the versatility of the teaching at George Mason really opened my eyes to see the different fields I can get into and where I am right now.
Oh, that's great. Nice plug for Handshake. Thank you. Amanda, I'd like to ask you the same question, wondering what kinds of coursework experiences really impacted your career readiness?
Yeah, I think Iyasu made a really great point about the different professors that we have at Mason. And because we're so close to Washington, D.C., a lot of them have a day job and then come teach at Mason. So my favorite economics class was taught by Steve Pearlstein, who writes for the Washington Post. So a lot of our readings were things that he had written before and things like that. And I never thought that I was going to like economics that much, but the way that he taught it for political science majors was great. So just having professors who are doing that during the day and then on campus and working with you is also great. I was a research assistant for Professor Jennifer Victor, and she had a lot of experience and connections, which was great. So the coursework, but also just being so close. Like both Jacob and Iyasu, I had internships in Washington, D.C., and another plug for Handshake. The internship that I had, I never thought I wanted to work at a nonprofit. I always thought I wanted to be in politics and government, and saw this really cool internship opportunity. And it's where I ended up working my entire senior year, ended up getting a full-time job there after graduation, and actually went back and consulted with them this summer after I graduated from my master's program. So great opportunities. And I think the great thing about Mason is there's so many things that you don't know yet. And it's a great place to figure those things out and learn about them.
That's great. So Amanda, I want to explore that a little bit more with you. You mentioned research opportunities, and you also mentioned internships. Were there any other co-curricular activities that you got into at Mason that also helped you with your either with your career search or with your pathway to grad school?
Yeah, so there were actually some classes that I took about kind of thinking through next steps and applying for graduate school, which were really helpful to help me think about my personal statement and interviews and things like that, and also helped me to realize I didn't want to go straight to graduate school and wanted to take a little bit of time to work before taking that next step, which was helpful. I was also involved on campus in student government. I played Ultimate Frisbee, and though that doesn't sound quite related, working with a team and also just being able to get outside and run around was great. And I actually also took a semester off of school to work full-time on a campaign. And the Shar School and everybody there was very helpful in helping me to figure that out and how to take that step to make sure I could still stay on track, but have that really great experience.
Wow, sounds like you took advantage of many opportunities. Iyasu, how about you? Is similar kind of story, or did you find any particular extracurricular activities of benefit?
You know, I definitely really enjoyed, I didn't take advantage of the extracurricular activities that the Shar School specifically had to offer. But I definitely agree with Amanda here with the Ultimate Frisbee. And how I definitely was into some organizations, you know, that were more like fellowships to build a community, so that you're not just focused on your studies 24/7, because I know that can really drain you. But definitely, just as an aside, if you can get into any clubs or organizations that can help build like a fellowship or help build relationships or a community, that's always good.
All right, good advice, definitely. Matt, on the career services front, what kinds of skill sets are employers looking for these days?
Yeah, so I think, no matter what areas you're going to be going into, there's a few skill sets that you can pretty much take to the bank that are going to be sought after. The first one is going to seem really basic, but it's communication skills. Can you speak coherently? Can you write professionally? Can you be able to put your thoughts together in a paragraph and be succinct with them? It might seem really basic, but a lot of people struggle with that. And if you can show to an employer that you can be able to articulate your thoughts effectively, it is going to take you farther than you can possibly imagine. So when you take those English classes that you're required to take, don't just kind of brush them off. Really practice it. Really put that effort into those professional writing classes, because you are taking them for a reason. Challenge yourself. Take a public speaking class, because you might not love presentations, but you're not going to avoid them your entire life, whether they're formal presentations, whether they're informal presentations. You're going to be doing them in internships. You're going to be doing them in jobs. You're going to be doing them more than just in the classroom. So that is absolutely number one. Critical thinking, problem solving skills. The world doesn't always work the way exactly we want it to. And sometimes things happen at the drop of a hat. Can you be able to show them that you can problem solve? Can you be able to show them that you have good critical thinking skills? The Shar School does a great job of preparing students with that, because when you're looking and analyzing all the different research that you're doing, when you're working on current topics, what are you doing but problem solving, using your critical thinking skills to be able to assess the information and evaluate what you're doing. So continuing to refine that. And then the other one that you might not necessarily think of from a Shar perspective, but I'm hearing it from almost every employer I talk to right now, is technical skills, data skills. So if you can be able to hone up your data analysis skills, it's not saying that you have to go and do a full-on IT minor or anything like that. But if you can be able to work with big data to a certain degree, if you can be able to have those skills in hand, you are going to be far more employable. You're going to be far more attractive to employers, and the world's moving more and more in that direction. So it's a little bit of just a reality right now. So I'd say those are the top three areas that are relatively universal at this point in time.
Okay, good to know. Good to know about that skill set that you can prepare for when you're thinking about your coursework and your experiences and how to best use your university experience for preparing. And speaking of that, Jacob, I'd like to ask you, as a current student and as you're preparing for graduating, how are you using your senior year for career preparedness, or what are you thinking about? What thoughts do you have about that next step after graduation?
Well, yeah, obviously in the sort of our current environment, it's sort of a daunting thing to think about. But you know, I've tried to stay busy and stay involved. I'm doing another internship that's virtual, unfortunately, but it's still experience this fall. I am involved, you know, sort of with my liaison role with the Shar School, and so I'm just continuing to try to build experience and build up skills that I can sort of have and attach to my resume. And so things that all build on each other and then hopefully put me in a good position to be competitive in the job field.
Excellent. Very good. Iyasu, I wanted to ask you more about the human resources field. It seems to me that every organization has some sort of human resources needs or department. How do most people find jobs in the field of human resources?
That's a great question. Definitely make sure you have at least some experience. If it's just free, you know, free work, free internship, not getting paid, that's actually very valuable experience because there's many people who want to get in the field of human resources, and it requires a lot of ability to show that you're able to handle people, because I'm sure we all know people can be difficult, and that's, you know, in human resources you're going to have to deal with them. And definitely if you're able to show some experience, even if it's not directly related to human resources, that you're able to handle difficult situations and have a high tolerance for certain situations and have good communication skills with other people, then that's going to be definitely invaluable for the field. And in addition to that, definitely certifications are very helpful. I know Mason offers a number of prep classes for the SHRM and I believe also PHR certifications for human resources. So if you're interested in that, it's never too early to start studying on those. Those definitely give you a leg up in that field.
Okay, good to know. Very good. Amanda, what advice would you give to students who are aiming for grad school as their next step?
Yeah, so the biggest piece of advice I would have is to explore and to take the time while you're in your undergraduate to really do new things, try different things. Like I said, I thought that I might go straight through to grad school. I had been applying to some different fellowships and scholarships and things like that. But it was actually the internship that I was doing during my senior year that made me realize I don't want to go to graduate school yet, and I want to take a little bit more time before I take that next step. So take interesting classes, do things like that. I would also say if you're really thinking about going to graduate school, definitely consider getting honors in the major and writing a thesis. That was a great experience for me, and I also referenced my thesis in a lot of those graduate school applications. It's a great time to be able to focus in on a project that you're really excited about and interested in and be able to drive it yourself. And then having the opportunity to work with a faculty member one-on-one is also really helpful for building out some graduate school applications and things like that. The other small piece of advice is just think about taking the GRE while you're in college. It's the best thing I did because I was used to studying. And then when I was applying for graduate school and a couple of years out of college, and a lot of my friends were trying to remember how to be a student again, do it while you're in school. Like Iyasu said, there's also great opportunities on campus to work with other people to get prepared and study and things like that.
Great points of advice. Thank you. In looking at the Q&A box, I see that Adam has asked, what's the difference between the two majors offered by Shar? And we've got two alums here representing both programs. Would you, Amanda and Iyasu, would you like to share your perspectives on the differences between the two programs? I'll start with Amanda.
Sure. So I got the BA in Government and International Politics. And it's definitely, again, I think Shannon said this, more of like the traditional political science. I knew that I kind of wanted to study that and then do some different minors that focused a little bit differently. So I did a data analysis minor and Spanish minor, but wanted to focus most of my coursework on learning about political science. Like Matt said, with the different kind of data skills. That was one of the things I really liked in an undergraduate course called Government 300. And that's what kind of made me want to focus in on that political science side of things, go ahead and do a thesis and things like that.
Yeah, I think that's a great overview of the BA program. The BS program, I would definitely say, is a lot less analysis of policy and a lot more application of policy and how that would look like in real time. So many of the things that you would study that will set you up later will be how do these policies affect an organization, and how can an organization do better in enacting those policies. And, you know, a lot of that is seen in the world of human resources, how policies can be implemented in an organization to make sure that everything is effective, everything is efficient. And a lot of that has to do with like leadership and accountability, and also delegation. So you will go through some classes that do have policy analysis, and you will need to learn different things in regards to the government structure, but most of it will deal with the application of it.
All right, very nice. That's a nice summary of the two kinds of programs that we have. Now, you found yourselves government and public admin students in the same classes, is that right?
Amanda, were we in the same classes?
I don't know that the two of us were in the same classes, but I know students across the majors are in classes together.
Exactly. Yeah, it's related fields, but then a way for you to specialize and focus in a certain area. But definitely, you'll find government and public admin students in classes together in some courses, some government classes. Okay, we have another question in the Q&A box, and the question is, can you talk about the PPE concentration and how students may leverage that with internships with international organizations or Department of State with some Foreign Service goals? I'd like to talk about the PPE program, and then I'm also going to ask Matt Myers to talk about our connections with Foreign Service and ways that students with those interests can find some pathways at George Mason. So the PPE concentration is an available program at Mason. What's nice about the PPE program is it's an interdisciplinary concentration. And that kind of showcases some of the good partnerships that we do have at George Mason with our sister units. The PPE is for philosophy, politics, and economics. And it's a way for students interested in all three of those areas to really build a super minor, really, of coursework in those three areas to create this extra sized concentration. And again, it's another way for students to connect across disciplines to get the full picture of politics, philosophy, and economics, culminating in a capstone, a specialized capstone course in that manner. And then, of course, internships can factor into your minors or your majors or other experiential components. But I would like to ask Matt at this time to talk about that Foreign Service piece.
Yeah, so we do have a good relationship with the State Department as a whole. I put a link in the chat just kind of showing their student internship program. You'll notice that the dates have already passed for all the summer 21 applications already. So that is just an indicator that if you are going to be applying for these kind of really competitive internships, get started as early as possible. That's not just the State Department. That's going to be a lot of the other big name, agencies within, the government as well. So even if you come in, as a freshman, you're able to start applying as early as first semester freshman year, depending on what the internship is. But Ann and I, we've been working together for probably 4 or 5 years now on an initiative we call Foreign Service Day. So every year, usually around late March, early April or so, we have a full one-day conference, generally It's on a Saturday, where we invite in a lot of former Foreign Service officers, current Foreign Service officers, State Department officials to be able to run programming for all of you. So we'll have a keynote, we'll have networking sessions, we'll have breakout sessions. The Diplomacy Center will come in and run a simulation with you to be able to give you an idea of what diplomacy actually really looks like. So if you do have an interest in foreign service, you can get a taste of, okay, what is it really all about? We've had former ambassadors participate in this program, and they're very happy and very willing to be able to help out and give back. In this regard, they like to be able to share about their experiences with students who are interested and engaged in wanting to pursue a career in this direction. There's no one singular silver bullet with this, so it's not a matter of if you get the PPE, if you just do the BA, the BS, anything like that. Like that's a straight shot into foreign service. It is a rather competitive process to get in, but it is something where we do provide a lot of resources throughout the year to be able to expose you to it, verify that it is the direction you want to go, and get a little bit of added information to be able to kind of propel you in that general direction.
Thank you. I'd like to now invite Shannon to say some, to take us to the next phase of our program.
All right, thanks, Anne, and thanks to everybody who's talked so far. I'm learning even as we go here, which is fantastic. So I guess what I wanted to just say quickly in response to the PPE, I'm sorry, I'm trying to spot, there we go. In response to the PPE question, I've been working with Matt Scherer, who is one of our faculty members. I've just been working with him lately on getting some things up to date on the website about the PPE program. And as that's been happening, I've been learning a ton of it. And it is a really cool program. And the faculty who are part of it are super dedicated to making the experience really immersive and sort of interdisciplinary for the students. They have a monthly discussion group. It was meeting on campus, now it's meeting virtually, where they have faculty and students who are interested in stuff related to political economy. They get together and chat with, they have a different visiting either scholar or person every month that comes and talks to them about some juicy new topic. There's a kind of an exchange program with the Free University of Amsterdam. They have a fellows program there. There's a weird bell going off, I'm gonna ignore it. Anyway, it's just really an interesting program, and I encourage you to find out more about the program itself, but the students who are in it and the faculty who are in it are just really interesting and interested. And so it's a great way to make connections. A lot of those programs are available to students aren't even, you don't even have to be in the program yet. You can just be interested in the topic, and you can go to the discussions and go to the Roger Wilkins lecture and learn about it. So I would encourage you to find out more about that. The nice thing is that if you're somewhere far away, like we have people in Seattle and people that are in North Carolina right now, but a lot of this stuff is virtual, so you can find out about these programs and come to things. Just look on the SHAR events calendar and see what's going on, and come check it out and see what you think. I'm going to take a quick moment to tell you, because this has been a really interesting discussion, but I do want to pause and let you know about sort of the application process. And if you will have questions about this, you can ask questions about this. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and fill you in on a couple things. I do encourage you to continue putting your information. If you want to introduce yourself and you haven't already, you can put that in the chat. If you have any questions at all about anything directly for a panelist or for the group as a whole, feel free to put that in the Q&A and we will get to your question. But let me just go ahead and tell you a little bit about the application process in case you want to find out more about applying to Mason if you aren't already a Mason student. I do know that one person has already applied, so thank you for your application. The deadline is November 1st for early, but we continue to accept applications throughout the cycle. So basically there are two online application options. There's the common application or the Mason exclusive application, but just so you know, admissions doesn't give preference for either method. The applications opened back in August for high school seniors, so those are open now, obviously. The early action, non-binding decision application is November 1st, so that's coming up really soon, and then January 15th for regular decision. And of course, we encourage all students to apply to file for the free application for federal student aid, which is known as FAFSA, by January 15th. So that opened on October 1st, and you can go to fafsa.gov to find out more. And there is down at the bottom of this slide, there's the admissions website, but of course you can just Google JMU admissions to find out more. I do know that we have at least one NOVA student who is on the call. There may be other students who are currently at a community college or another university thinking of possibly transferring. So if you're interested in transferring, the application deadline is March 1st for fall priority. And as with freshmen, we encourage you to apply for the FAFSA at fafsa.gov. And again, there's information here at the bottom of the slide about how to find out about the required application materials and the transfer pathway. I also just want to let you know, if you don't already, that this event tonight is one of a series of 3 that we did this week. We had one event last night, tonight, and there's one more tomorrow. And it is the Policy and Law panel. And it's going to be about policy, public administration, and law. They're exploring the topic of prison privatization, but they are also going to be discussing sort of public policy more generally as well. We're going to have our pre-law advisor on that webinar, several professors, a current student, and one of our graduates who is actually attending Yale Law School right now. So come to that event tomorrow, and if you can, to find out more. And just, sorry, let me scroll down here and get to my next slide. So that's pretty much it from me. And if you want to find out more, this doesn't mean the webinar is over, but if you do want to find out more, you can follow up with us at sharuaa.gmu.edu. And Jacob, as well as our 2 other student liaisons, are responding to those emails, and we'll set up a Zoom call with you, or a phone call, or answer by email, put you in touch with an advisor, or whoever can answer your questions. So feel free to get in touch with us after this if you have any questions at all. And we're just excited for your application. And for those of you that are currently Mason students, we look forward to finding out how we can support you in your career search. So with that, I don't know if there are any other questions in the Q&A, but I'm sure there are more things that our panelists can discuss. So I'm going to hand it back to Anne.
Thank you, Shannon. Thank you for all of that excellent information. I do have a question I'd like to ask Matt, and that is, you highlighted the Foreign Service event and those kinds of connections that students can have at George Mason. What can you tell us about the career fair? And how do students get connected to the career fair when it's offered on campus?
Yeah, so we run career fairs throughout the year. We have 2 kind of, I guess for back, a better way of putting it, primary career fairs that are generally early October and mid-February. So we had our last one last week. This semester we're virtual, like everything else is, but presuming that we're back to fully normal, fully operational, our career fairs are 2-day events, and each day we have about 130, 140 employers attending, and that's across all different industries. But we usually, I'd say on the government, and government-related side of things, probably about anywhere from a quarter to a third of those are related to government in some way, including a lot of the big name agencies that you would think about. Whether that's CIA, whether that's portions of DHS, State Department, DoD, different areas along the way there, and also, of course, our local government. We'll get Fairfax County, we'll have Arlington County, we'll have a lot of those organizations as well. Normally, students are welcome to walk up and attend. All you'd have to do is submit your Mason ID to get scanned, and you're good to go. Now that we're online right now, we're having to have pre-registration just to be able to manage, all of the, I guess, capacity of the servers and everything. I'm clearly not a tech person right now, if it's not becoming apparently clear. But we still have plenty of opportunities. We had over I think over 1,500 students attend our career fair last week between the 2 days where we're virtual, and we also generally have a career night as well about 2 weeks after the fact. So we'll have another one of those coming up on for the semester on the 28th, or just one more opportunity in the evening. So if you are working during the day, if you can't make it during the daytime hours, we do offer that up for the evening hours as well, to be able to provide more opportunities. And we're usually able to fit another 70, 80, sometimes up to another 100 employers in that evening when we're in person. So that's the short version of it.
Well, good. I'm glad to hear that the transition to a virtual scenario didn't stop folks from coming to the career fair. Along those lines, I wanted to ask Jacob, you mentioned, Jacob, that you're doing a virtual internship this semester. Can you highlight a little bit about what that's like?
Yeah, so for my internship as part of the spring 2020 semester, that was obviously cut off by the pandemic. And so I kind of did that one half in person, half virtual. And, it was certainly a transition to go from, getting on the metro every single day, going into DC, going into an office space as opposed to just sitting in my room and, doing sort of the same activities online. But it's sort of, it was a unique experience, definitely, and I think it helped me sort of be able to do another internship over the summer. I interned with the Virginia Delegate over the summer, and that was all virtual, so it kind of gave me an experience for that. And I think obviously those two both experiences sort of helped me sort of present myself as a good candidate for a virtual internship this fall, as I'd already done two other ones, and obviously it doesn't have the same experience as you would if you were in person, but I still think you can get a lot out of a virtual internship.
That's good to know that you can still contribute in that way, even though it's a virtual experience. I'm sure you felt that was a rewarding way to be involved. Iyasu, I would like to ask you, along those same lines with transitioning to virtual work scenarios, what kinds of challenges have you faced? And has it been along the same lines with virtual working, or what other kinds of on the job scenarios have helped you with your accept challenges?
Yeah, absolutely. I think especially in the field of human resources, it's definitely been a unique challenge to have a remote workforce all of a sudden. We're all in the office at one moment, and then a few months later, we're all working from home. And now we're considering having our employees work from home permanently because it looks like some things can be done remotely. And so, and with that comes its challenges, especially with HR, making new policies and new procedures and creating new forms to make sure everybody is safe and healthy. And if they do have a job that they need to go into the office for, that the certain precautions and guidelines are set in place in order to make sure that they are safe and are also able to do the job as well. But I would also say at a broader point that in the field of human resources, you're sort of in this middle ground between protecting the employer and protecting the employee. A lot of what you do will be creating policies to protect the employer from unknowingly doing something that could infringe upon the rights of the employee, and also implementing policies that make sure that employees' rights are being valued, and that we're cultivating a positive work culture. So there's definitely some practical things such as the COVID switch, but also some overarching things such as trying to make sure that we're playing nice with both sides.
All good and practical things that have popped up, I'm certain, in your field. Amanda, how about you? What kinds of challenges have you faced, or any particular job scenario that has come your way now that you're in the career field?
Yeah, so the job that I had right out of undergrad, I was working at a nonprofit called the Partnership for Public Service, and I was working on their Center for Presidential Transition. So we were helping both the Trump and Clinton transition teams to plan for, if they won the election, how would they move into government, which was really exciting work, but also challenging and exhilarating. There was a day when I got a phone call, and my boss, it was a Sunday afternoon, and he said, "Hey, are you available right now?" And I said, "Sure, what's going on?" He said, "I'm going to patch you through to the Trump team because they have a question about political appointments, and you're the expert on our team, so get ready." Which was crazy, but also very exciting. And the reason that I had that opportunity was actually because I was a research associate on a team. And that was a job I didn't think I was ever going to have. Like I said, I thought I was going to go into politics and campaigns. And in 2016, I didn't really want to work in politics. So had this great opportunity from working at this nonprofit while I was at the Schar School. And the research background that I had from working on a thesis from the classes that I took at Schar really helped me to step into that role and have a background and feel comfortable taking on that kind of research. And the one other plug I'll just give, I came from Colorado and went to Mason, and especially as an out-of-state student, just the opportunities to have internships in DC during the year. There's so many students who are looking for internships in DC in the summer, and it's really competitive. But when you're a student who can say, I'll get on the metro and I'll be in the office on Tuesdays or Thursdays, there's a lot more opportunities and doors that open. So just another thing to consider as you're looking.
Yeah, that's an excellent point about location, location, location. That's for sure. Okay, so questions continuing with our alums. Knowing what you know now, what would you tell your younger self when you were starting out as an undergrad student? Yasu.
Yeah, I would definitely tell myself to explore, definitely explore, and not pigeonhole yourself into one thing. You know, if you can envision yourself being an FSA working at, or FSO working at the State Department, then nothing's wrong with that. But also broaden your perspective. What if your skills would be best used somewhere else? Or what if you found something that you really, really enjoy that you didn't think you would? And so I would have just told myself, definitely explore all of your options, because you never know which one would be exactly the right fit for you.
How about you, Amanda?
I think mine would be very similar. And the kind of big tagline for me was, you don't have to have it all figured out. You will have these different opportunities and things that you don't even know are out there. So be open to those opportunities. Like Yasu said, explore, try new things. You have a lot of time in college. So take the opportunities, do things you didn't think you were going to do, because every semester is a new opportunity.
I like that. I like the positive tone that you've both shared about opportunities and being involved and taking advantage of that time in the college environment. Yeah, very true. Matt, I would like to ask you, you work with so many students. As the way that career advising is set up at Mason, it's industry advising. So you can get anybody who's interested in this, you know, in the field of government and political science, coming your way to ask for advice on career searches. Do you have a success story or a particular experience that you've had that you've been particularly proud of?
I had a student, say probably the first time I met her was maybe like her sophomore year or so, and you know, she just stopped by for a drop-in appointment real quick, you know, for her resume, you know, looking to be able to you know, touch it up. She'd, you know, done I think she was involved with, like, you know, Model UN on campus or something along those lines. But she was, you know, really just, you know, touching it up for a class assignment at first, I think it was. And so we worked on it, kind of talked about how, you know, okay, maybe you don't have this exact experience yet, but we can, you know, build up how Model UN equates over into other areas. And okay, you know, that was that, and moved, you know, kind of, you know, moved along. But then, you know, it's about either the next semester or the next year later, you know, she comes back for, you know, a full appointment, and, you know, is really starting to look at, you know, internships, because she was really interested in working with areas related to international development, looking at you know, USAID, World Bank, you know, places along those lines. So we started, you know, really looking at, okay, how can we be able to, you know, strategize for this? And you know, I think she's, you know, certainly, bright girl, but a lot of it, a lot of what we end up doing, career services, as much as it is advising, it's also a lot of cheerleading, confidence building, because I think if you get here to Mason and you are able to, do well in your classes, you have all the capabilities in the world of being able to be successful, outside, but it's hard to believe that at first until you start to do it, sometimes. So a lot of what I'm doing is, confidence building. And to make, a long story short, she ended up getting 2 internships simultaneously. I don't know how she pulled that off, that summer, balancing 2 different internships with organizations related to that. Ended up, the next year we were working on grad applications. She went over to University of Edinburgh over in Scotland, got a master's over there, and now she's working in the field on the contractor who does a ton of stuff with USAID and everything. And is already looking to be able to come back to Mason, give back, and work with students to get them in the field as well. So I think that's a good example of something that kind of seems like a pipe dream, not really being a pipe dream if you're willing to put in the time and work for it.
Well, that's very, very unique perspective. On the Q&A box, there is a question about concentrations. Concentrations, a lot of different concentrations available. You've noticed that. That's good. How can we get more information about the concentrations and kind of understanding the differences between them and class descriptions? So in the chat box, I just provided a link to, I think, some pretty good descriptions of our concentrations in government, and then I'll follow up with the public admin ones as well. But yeah, we do offer, what's nice about our degree programs is you can be kind of a generalist and take, focus your major course, your field study coursework in the major in a general way, or you can be focused in a more specific way. If you want to pick a concentration and then purposely choose those courses to set yourself up with some, specific background in those concentration areas, you can do that. Or you can choose your coursework for your own areas of interest. There's that flexibility. But there are concentration descriptions in the link that I'm putting in the chat. And then the course descriptions in the catalog are very brief. And but there are more resources that you can use to get a little bit more details on the courses. We do provide syllabus examples on our SHAR website, and that's another good resource to look at specific syllabi when you're looking at professors, sections, and which, what a little bit more information for sure about courses that we do offer them in that way. At this point, I'm going to search for the public admin concentrations, but invite Shannon to join us to wrap us up. Thank you.
Thanks, Anne. And actually, Anne, don't get too distracted, because I have a question for you, because you've been doing such a great job being a moderator. And I wanted to actually ask you what I want to make sure these students know, the students particularly, the students that are at Mason probably know this already if they know you, but the students who are from Nova or who are applying maybe don't know much about the advising team within the SHAR school, and what the relationship of the advising team is with these industry advisors, and what kind of advising our undergraduate students in the SHAR school can get, particularly related to how they can kind of articulate their goals and explore and that sort of thing. Would you be okay talking about that for a minute?
Oh, sure. Yes, we at the SHAR school, we offer, we have a professional advising team. That's the model that we use. At George Mason, there are different models of advising. You can have a faculty member assigned to you. There may be grad students that are helping with advising. There could be peer advisors, and there are professional advisors. At the SHAR school, we have professional advisors that serve as a team. We have a team approach for advising, and then we also offer peer advisors. Our goal is to have sort of an open door policy to advising and be available to students as needed, virtually as well, as we've expanded, of course, our virtual advising options. But there, it's a holistic approach to advising. You can talk to us about short-term planning, long-term planning. Definitely, that I think the top thing that you meet with your advisor about is what are my classes for, help me plan my classes for next semester. But there are study abroad opportunities that await you. There are if you're interested in law school, there's a pre-law advisor. We can refer students across the campus to other units if they're interested in minors, and to bring a minor into their area to complement their public administration or government coursework. So that's our philosophy is student-centered and open door.
Great, thank you, Anne. And I just saw that there was one more question in the Q&A that was about what are sort of popular careers. I'm going to read it again. Alexis asked, what are popular careers people choose to pursue once graduating from this program? I will answer very quickly and say there are so many different directions that students can go with this. I just put in the chat a fact sheet that we just created that it's a brochure, basically a PDF that you can take a look at, that has a list of some of the places where students have gotten jobs after graduating from our program. This is really, to make it fit on the sheet, we had to cut it down. So it really is just an example of the different types of industries. There's federal level jobs, there's political campaigns, state and local government positions, law firms, of course, folks that want to work in think tanks and do research, do government consulting, folks that want to work in Congress, on Capitol Hill, but then also all kinds of folks that do stuff with advocacy, nonprofit work, like some things that people are passionate about. So there really is a wide range, but maybe Anne, I can hand it back to you, and Matt, maybe, I don't know, to see if there's a better answer than that.
Sure, I'll hop in. I think one of the nice things about a SHAR school degree is that you really can go almost any direction you want with it. Okay, maybe you're not going to take your SHAR degree and immediately become an engineer. You probably need some engineering classes to be able to do that on the side. But in general, you can go almost any direction. You're not going to really close doors off with it, because it's more about how you're going to use the knowledge, how you're going to use your skills. A lot of employers, they hire off of your skill sets and what you can actually do for them. So you might, even if you have your SHAR degree and you want to go work on Capitol Hill, you want to go work for county or state government, you don't want to go work wherever it is, just having the degree isn't going to be enough. Even if it says that you're a public administration major, you need to be able to back it up and be able to show them what you learned in your classes, how you are able to apply it. So really you can go almost any direction with that. What I might recommend, if you're curious about some of the other specifics, if you hop on LinkedIn and just do a search, put a filter on there for George Mason, put a filter on there for government, international politics, public administration, either or. You can be able to see everybody on there that has that combination and see what they're doing now, how they got to where they are.
Right, and I'm wondering if Iyasu maybe or Amanda could answer this obviously rhetorical question, but the question is, was it a straight line for you from what you thought you were going to do when you started to where you are now and where you're going? Was it a straight line? If it was or wasn't, why not? What changed?
Yeah, I think definitely sometimes circumstances can dictate where you end up, but I think for the most part, I thought that I would go immediately to law school after getting my undergrad degree, and I initially, was studying for the LSAT, and then I realized I just also really wanted a few years of work experience, and so, as I mentioned before, did a few internships in federal and local government, and that was a lot of fun. Did a temporary position at a law firm. I did another temporary position at GW, and that really gave me the opportunity to see what the career field had to offer. And so instead of going immediately to law school, I found that I really love working with people. And it's not that lawyers don't work with people, it's that HR professionals always work with people. And so from, some temporary jobs and some internship experiences, it's sort of, I guess I sort of stumbled my way into human resources, which is actually a very, as I mentioned, very rewarding and valuable career. So it doesn't always go as straight as you sometimes might hope. I do have friends who have had internships on the Hill and then full-time positions on the Hill and have moved up from there, and that's great. But sometimes it's not as straight as you expect it to be, and it may take a little while, and you may not end up where you thought you would a few years ago.
Thank you all for participating in this. I do want to go ahead and hand it back to Jacob here, but first just to say thank you so much to our panelists for all of your thoughts and perspectives, but also thank you to our attendees for coming tonight. You're from different parts around the country. Some of you are right up the street, but it's really nice to have you here and to have your thoughtful questions. And of course, as Jacob is probably going to tell you, we can go ahead and take any follow-up questions that come up, come to mind for you, set up a Zoom call or whatever you need. So feel free to get in touch with us. We're happy to talk with you. But with that, I'm going to go ahead and hand it back to Jacob.
Yeah, so again, just to follow up on that, thank you all so much for joining us today. We're more than happy to answer any questions you might have. You can, just go ahead and ask us now, or you can quickly just, you can shoot us an email. We're happy to set up a Zoom conversation or just answer any questions you have by email. The SHAR UAA email, Shannon just put it in the chat, is how you reach us, and feel free to reach out again.